Welcome Scorpio to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 27th of May for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. On the screen now I'm showing the event chart right at the start of the week, and this provides some very important clues of how things can unfold. Now Pluto, your modern ruler, continues to loiter right on your fourth house cusp. The fourth house cusp is very much about where we withdraw to rest. It's the nighttime part of our overall chart. Here, collectively for Scorpios, this is pushing you, provoking you through to the first day of September this year to really explore deeply your emotional responses. It could be your connection to your family, maybe your historical roots, maybe even in terms of your ancestors. Those are things that you may have been digging down and getting much more information about, because remember, Pluto can be very probing. But it's also the planet of transformation. And your sign is a sign that really appreciates that life does shift. Even if there are parts of your existence which do provide a degree of continuity because you're a fixed sign. Because Mars is about desire, your traditional ruler, and Pluto is about change. Essentially, change is something you quite shrewdly know is ultimately going to come. Because the 8th house, which is very redolent of the energy of your sign, is aglow with energy this week. You can see that Jupiter, the planet of growth, optimism and self-assurance, Venus, the Sun and the part of fortune are all gathered in this 8th house. Now in the case of Jupiter and Venus, they're angling back to Pluto on that 4th house cusp. But for you, the 8th house is where you're most devoted. So it's where you're most in. Jupiter can be about trade. Venus can be about money. We can think about the 8th house archetype as being very much to do with entrepreneurship. If you're trying to strengthen the basis of your security in your life through your earnings, this could be a very important time. Some big alterations can happen that can be very positive, particularly if you're linking very closely with others, or if you're very shrewd at investment. If you like to have a little bit of a flutter, your ability to see beneath the surface is really emphasized. That's a great part of what makes you so talented. But your other ruler, Mars, is giving you a lot of physical vitality. Now, if you are feeling a little bit lower in energy than you would like, I can assure you that Mars gives you an opportunity to give you some uplift right at the heart of this week, as it applies to Chiron, the wounded healer. If you do feel that you give a lot to others, but you don't necessarily feel that you get much back, one of the things you can do at this very evolutionary time of the year for you is to actually accept that you aren't always going to get it back. But the giving that you're doing actually is your free will. And at the start of this week also, Saturn in your 5th house, which has been there for about 13 months. Now Saturn in the 5th house does not have a great reputation, but in this transiting situation, it's just asking you to work at your creative talents that much harder. But it's forging a brilliant link to Mercury in the part of your scope to do with your connections to others. And it suggests that if you have got something flowing for you that you're really inspired by, your ability to link out and express your ideas is actually really given a big lift. So if, as Mars applies to Chiron, you're not necessarily getting exactly what you want back, just understand that this is a time when your bigger plan, the big changes in your life, is really the primary important thing. And although it could be disappointing if someone's not tuning into you, by the end of this week you may get a surprise text message or email which suggests they are on to what you have to offer. Also, I would say as this week begins, the moon's in your 3rd house in the very practical sign of Capricorn, but that's linking brilliantly to Saturn and Mercury too. So Do understand that your communications this week can be quite crisp, but I feel there's a deeper psychological shift going on. It can affect your resources very dynamically and very positively, so there could be an improvement in your income, but also in a romantic context, the 8th house is where we want to be very devoted. And if there is someone that you're feeling that sweet connection with and it's really mutual and it's working well and you're prepared even to open up around your very private inner emotional world, it could be a relationship that could become very, very important, but also it could be very sensual as well. So there are a number of different options there, but of course the 8th house, where that gathering of Gemini energy is, can also be around what can end. And if something hasn't worked out for you and you do want to shift on, there could be some legacy, some kind of division of assets that could come to you. And if it does, it could actually be surprisingly much better than you expect. I hope you have a great week, Scorpio. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you've yet to subscribe, please do so now.